So, like we have various texts, let it be the Vedas, Vedangas, Itihasas, Puranas. Uh, so, Vedas is the four Vedas. Of course, we had three initially, then the fourth Veda, Atharva Veda was added. Then Vedangas come in, the various Shastras come in, Yoga, Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Vaisheshikam, Nyaya, and so on. Then you have the Itihasas, Ramayanam, Mahabharatam, then the various Puranas, Matsya Puranam, Srimad Bhagavata Puranam, and so on. Like this, we have another category. Of course, now there are many other texts that are there. Amongst that, there is one more that is something called as a tantras, right? So tantras are certain texts now wherein it talks about various in general, like the Puranas. You can also consider them as general in nature, wherein they talk about different aspects. They can talk about various procedures or so to do certain rituals, or they talk about the Mahima of the Lord, like we are looking here, like how Shiva is talking about Krishna. Like this, when we come to this Satvatatantram, basically this Satvatatantram talks about, it is a conversation between Nara and Lord Shiva. Now it is divided into various parts. Now Krishna Sahasranama, which we are learning, comes in the sixth part of the Satvatatantram. Now I'm just telling you for your information, because whatever we are learning, we should know what we are learning. Krishna Sahasranama, 1,000 names of the Lord, that is fine. But from where it has come in, little, we must know the background also. So that's the reason, whatever little I know, I'm sharing. Those who want, you can make a note. So in the sixth part of this text, Satvata Tantram, Krishna Sahasranama is there. Now, I'll just give you a gist of what exactly this text talks about. In general, initially, Satvata Tantram firstly talks about Avatara Nimitta Kathanam. This is the first part. Now, what is this? Avatara Nimittam. Now, what is the purpose of every avataram that the Lord takes? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. No doubt to establish dharma, to get rid of adharma, and to guide people and support, help people who are there. Sambhavami yuge yuge. In every yuga, I take an avataram. But through every avataram, nimitta kathanam, through every avataram of the Lord, there is, apart from establishing dharma, also apart from getting rid of rakshasas and so on, there is some more purpose to this. Like, I'll give you one example. Krishna avataram, through the nimitta of Krishna avataram, through Arjuna being as a medium, Gita Upadesham was done. Like this, there are many things that are there. So therefore, through every avataram that is there, avataram is just a nimittam or a medium to guide the world further. So this is one avatara nimittam. What are the different avatars also of the Lord? And wherein here, if you see, Narada again tells that I want to learn about the wonderful pastimes of Lord Krishna, or so the various Krishna Leela stories. That's when again Shiva starts describing the same. Now, of course, there are many more things that are there. Second is the Leela Avatara Kathanam. Now, in general, in the first part, Avatara Nimitam, why an Avatara took place, that was told. Now, Leela Avatara, specifically, more about Krishna Leela stories. Not only Krishna Leela you can consider, in general, Vishnu Leela. So it can be about Dhruva, it can be about Kurma, it can be about Manu, how Manu was protected, it can be about Matsya. Then the various avatars like Kapila Muni and so on. So about all this, description is given in Leela Avatara Kathanam. All this has been told by Shiva to Narada. Then in the third part that is there, Avatara Bheda Kathanam. What is this Avatara Bhedam? Now there are different avatars. One is a Purna Avataram, Sampurna Avataram, Kalavataram, Amshavataram. Sampurna Avataram, Amshavataram, and Kalavataram. Purna, Sampurna meaning is one and the same. Narada says, Kathita Bhagavan Vishnor Avatara Mahatmanaha Sampurnamsha Kalabhedaihi Bhavanaimsha Tvaya Prabhu Bhavaniyasa Tvaya Prabhu. That means Narada asks Shiva that you tell me about the various avatars that are there and what is their nature and so on. What is Krishna? Is he Paramatma? Is he ultimate Brahman? And so on. Now here if you see, Lord Shiva at that time he tells that there are various avatars of the Lord. Some are Sampurna Avataram, some are Amshavataram and so on. Now if you see, Krishna Avataram is a Purna Avataram. The Lord himself has incarnated. Whereas Amsha Avataram you can consider like maybe Lord Shesha also, Sheshanaga, or maybe even Hanuman. Hanuman is an Amshavataram of Shiva. So wherein a part, Amshavataram is like one fourth, you can consider one fourth part has come in, and Kalavataram that is there, that is 1/16. This is exact calculation of the part. So like you can consider Shatrughna, Bharata also, they are all part incarnations. Whereas Krishna Avataram is, or Rama Avataram, they are all Purna Avataram, that has been told. Further still, yes, someone had a doubt? No. So like this in detail about the Avatara Bheda Kathanam, that is done in part number 3. Further, Satvatatantram in part 4, it talks about Bhakti Bhedaha. Bhakti Vedaha, there are different ways of showing bhakti. Like all of us do, some of us we chant the names of the Lord, some of us we sing the glories of the Lord, some of us we read the stories of the Lord, some of us we tell the stories of the Lord, some of us we listen to various people talking about the glories, some of us we do puja the karmas, some of us we go and visit places, visit temples. So like this, there are different bhakti in which it can be done. Now, of course, here Shiva describes more in detail, wherein Shiva says that this is something which is very much secret to you. I will not relate it very easily, because only if you're going to do bhakti, only if you have bhakti in you, then I will talk about bhakti. Otherwise, it's useless, right? Not only bhakti, for any topic. If the opposite person does not have any interest or is not going to do anything about that, then what is the use of telling? For that opposite person, it is everything is useless. He'll not have any interest, right? So that's when Shiva, he talks about the various forms of bhakti that are there, different kinds of devotional service, kama, like the love of the gopikas that was there was kama. Now here kama should not be taken in a negative aspect, ultimate pure love and affection that they had towards the Lord. Further, bhakti is also divided as kintu jnana kriya leela, jnana kriya leela. Now what is that? Jnana is having knowledge, like reading various sacred texts also. That is actually, you can consider meditation on Lord Hari. Then karma. Karma is we do different kinds of actions. I told you puja the karmas that are there, or kriya. And one is leela. Leela is listening to the stories of the Lord and so on. So like this, if you see, there are different ways in which bhakti also can be done. Yatha Shakti, each one of us, we can do that. So this is again the various types of bhakti which can be done. This also further Shiva describes. Then, okay, I hope what I'm telling everyone is able to follow. Yes? Okay. Further, the next part of Satvatatantram, it talks about now all this that I'm telling you, each part, I'm just telling you hardly just a gist of it, what it is there. There are more than 100 shlokas or so in every category, like Bhakti Vedam, the various avatars, and so on. Now, next, the fifth category that is there talks about Yuga Dharma Kathanam. Based on every yuga, there are certain things that are to be followed. Now, what is Yuga Dharmam? Now, please note here, we should not get confused. Dharma is something which is common, right? Now, say for example, speaking the truth. No, in Satya Yuga, speaking the truth was dharma. Today, speaking lies is dharma in Kali Yuga. It doesn't happen that way. Speaking the truth is dharma. This is there. But then what is Yuga Dharma? Now, basis of every yuga, there are certain dharmic rules that change. Say for example, now in Rama Avataram, people could go do tapasya for so many years or so, do various kinds of sacrifices. Today, can we do that? We cannot do. But does it mean that then, oh, I'm not able to do sacrifices also, like Ashwamedha Yagam, Rajasuya Yagam, and various other sacrifices? Does it mean that I'll not get mukti or so, or the Lord will not be pleased? For that, there is an option that is given. That is the various chants that we do, various shlokas that we chant, various mantras that we chant, maybe a small puja the karma that we do. The phalan that is there is equal to perform that sacrifice. The Shastras only have highlighted this. So this is nothing but Yuga Dharma or Yuga Bheda Dharma. Based on different yugas also, there are certain changes that are to be done. Now, why is that changes? Now, in those times, say for example, during the Rama Avataram times, Treta Yugam times were different, conditions were different, lifespan was different, things were available in plenty. Of course, they were all kings then, so they could afford and do such sacrifices. Today's times, we cannot do it. Even if we have the resources that are there, maybe money or things like that, still you cannot do. Where will you leave the horse on the road? It will run here and there. That is not possible, right? For an Ashwamedha sacrifice, I'm telling. So therefore, this is nothing but Yuga Bheda Dharma or Yuga Dharma Kathanam. So wherein depending on the basis of every yuga that we live, there are different rules that are told. Like Satya Yugam, meditation was only way to reach the Lord. Treta Yugam, various sacrifices. Dwapara Yugam, puja di karmas. Kali Yugam, nama sankirtanam yasya sarva papa pranashanam. So if you see, Yuga Dharmam also has made things so easy, right? From meditation till nama sankirtanam yasya. But that also for us has become tough. So this is when the Phalashruti remains the same, but the ways of showing dharma have different. Further, next is the sixth part that comes and talks about the Sahasranama, that is the 1,000 names of Lord Krishna. So in the sixth section, we have Krishna Sahasranama, which we are learning now. Now, later also there are few more sections also of Satvatatantram. I'll just tell you a gist because we have just started with that. Now, for every shloka, Sahasranamam also is a conversation between Narada and Shiva, wherein for every shloka, after chanting the 1,000 names of the Lord, Shiva also narrates the meanings of the names of Lord Krishna to Narada. And Narada here he tells that actually, if you see, this Krishna Sahasranamam that is there has been told by Lord Vishnu to Parvati originally. This is what Shiva tells, and Shiva narrates the same to Shiva. Shiva narrates the same to Narada. That's how this Sahasranama comes in. Further, the next part, the seventh section of Satvata Tantram, talks about Namaparada Kathanam. Namaparadha. Now, here Shiva also is very much practical. Now, whenever we do some bhakti or chant the names of the Lord and so on, there can be many mistakes that we do, right? Knowingly, unknowingly we do. Let's not say knowingly, unknowingly. Say, for example, now I'm chanting a shloka, stotram or so, we go wrong somewhere, right? It's not that we do on purpose. Maybe we are learning initially and so on, so it happens. But many times unknowingly also for years together we might end up chanting the wrong meaning. I'll give you an example for this. Agajanana Padmarkam Gajanana Maharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. What do most of us chant? Anekadantam Bhaktanam. But many of us we don't know Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam. There is a pause in between. If you chant Anekadantam, Aneka Dantam, Dantam teeth, Aneka many, one having many teeth. Ganesha has got only two teeth, that too one is broken, right? Anekadam tam bhaktanam. We should actually break that. Meaning, the Lord blesses us in various ways. Anekadam tam bhaktanam. That is the meaning. This is just one example. But for years together, we chant Anekadantam, Anekadantam, Anekadantam. That's when later, if someone tells us a meaning, we realize that, oh, this is how it is. I've been chanting it wrong for many years. So, like this, there can be different ways in which Namaparadham takes place. So, when such things happen, what to do? This is again narrated by Shiva to Narada. So, Namaparada Kathanam. Further, yeah, Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam. You have to break after Anekadam. Tam Bhaktanam. Yeah, okay. Now, further, Shiva, the ninth part talks about Himsa Yukta Puja. Himsa Yukta Puja meaning the worship that is offered by, you can say, offered to the demigods or so. Like sometimes what, let us not say Himsa Yuktam, a bit of violent kind of worship, right? So initially it is said that during the times of Satya Yuga or so, there was people used to worship only Vishnu, it seems. That's what Shiva tells. That is the main gods, Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, or Vishnu. Later we have now many other gods, Indra, Agni, Varuna, and so on. So at times, if you see, people started using a bit of violent worship also. So maybe you can consider methods like animal sacrifice or things like that. Or many times, you see, even today, people cause harm to their body parts or cutting off something and offering and so on. So all this developed, of course, in the later times. So Himsa Yukta Deva Puja, that is also described here in Satvata Tantram. This is the eighth part. Next is the last section that is there, talks about, now this Himsa Yuktam also is wrong also, we cannot argue here because that was a way of offering. People in those times, now if you don't know something is correct or wrong, that was a common practice in the society. we also cannot differentiate, right, whether something is correct or wrong. So this is when the last part is this Himsa Yukta Puja that is there, wherein Shiva, he concludes this Satvata Tantram saying that always we must show bhakti towards Lord Krishna, we must chant the names of the Lord, do seva also as far as possible. And finally, he concludes the Satvata Tantram saying that I offer my prayers to you and I surrender totally to you. Let me always remember your names. And this is the reason why Parama Vaishnavaha Shivaha. This reference is given to Lord Shiva, the greatest amongst the devotees of Lord Vishnu. Parama Vaishnavaha is Shiva.